Now, making low protein soup or stew is really easy, and it's far better than anything you'll get in a packet or in a tin. When you're making low protein soup or stew, there are 3 sets of ingredients that you have to kind of think about, decide on. First of all, it's the vegetables that you want, which is the main part of obviously your soup or your stew. And here I've got onions, carrots, peppers, courgettes and mushrooms, but the list is endless of what you're allowed. You've got sweet potatoes, a butternut squash, you've got all the root vegetables like parsnips and swedes, you've got leeks. So just chop them up as you like, and to be honest, you can make a soup or a stew with as little as maybe 2 or 3 ingredients, or as well, as I say, the list is endless. They get cooked in a little bit of oil or a bit of butter, and if you want a spicy stew, a strong flavoured stew, you can actually add a little bit of garlic with the vegetables, or even a bit of fresh chilli, but be careful with those because they're hot obviously. The next set of ingredients you have to think about are the flavourings. What flavour do you want? You can make it into a curry, add curry powder and curry spices like coriander, really nice. You could just use a mixture of herbs. Oregano is very nice, sage, thyme, just a touch of thyme. That's quite strong, so don't go overdoing your thyme, but a touch of herbs is very nice. Paprika is really nice in a stew. It also adds a nice rich colour. Cumin is nice, and if you want a bit of extra heat, if you don't want to use fresh chilies, you can always use a bit of chilli powder. And then the next set of ingredients you need is the liquid. Obviously with a soup you add a little bit more, with a stew not quite so much. You can add a tin of tomatoes, that's really good, or you can add sieved tomatoes, and then you can add even just water with salt and pepper, or a vegetable cube, that could be the liquid. So basically you cook off your vegetables in a little bit of oil, a bit of butter, add your flavourings and then add your liquids, and that's really simple. So I'm going to make one using these chopped ingredients that I've just done, and I'll just make our basic spicy vegetable stew. I'm just going to add a little bit of paprika to it, then I'll add a little bit of oregano, I'll need salt and pepper, and then I will need a tin of tomatoes and a little bit of water that I'll use, but I'll cook the vegetables in a little bit of oil as well. So that's all I'm going to be needing. So over to the stove. So pan on to heat, about 1 or 2 tablespoons of oil. Wait till that gets hot. And then just add your vegetables. Give them a stir. Put a lid on the pan. Cook them for about 5-10 minutes until they're nice softened. Stir it occasionally. So they start to soften. But now it's time to add the flavourings. I'm just going to add 2 teaspoonfuls of oregano and 2 or 3 teaspoonfuls of paprika. Give that a stir. Now, as with all spices that you add to any mixture, you need to cook the spices, so I'm just going to leave it on the stove for another couple of minutes or so, just so that paprika gets cooked. And this is exactly what I would do if I was turning this into a curry. If I added any curry spices, I would cook them before I add the liquid. So now we add the tin of tomatoes, 400 ml of water, and some salt and pepper. Then that gets stirred around. And I've used whole tin tomatoes here, so I'll just kind of squash them up with a spoon. I'm just going to leave that now to cook until the vegetables are cooked, but not too soft. And the stew's almost cooked now. The vegetables are soft but not too soft, which is what you're looking for. Now this is a time to taste it and add any more flavourings if you need to, but don't add any more spices because they won't have a chance to cook. You can add a little bit of salt and pepper, or if it still needs a bit of flavouring, a bit of a depth of flavour really, you can add a squirt of tomato puree to it, and that will really bring out all the flavours. But I don't think that needs anything. The only thing I would say, you might want to thicken the liquid, and that's very, very easy to do. All you need is maybe a teaspoonful of cornflour, mixed with a little tiny bit of water. Just do that in a small dish. And that can be added to the simmering stew. But you've got to stir it at the same time. And you will see a difference. Yeah, that's thickened. That's just about right, I think. You can add more or less, obviously, to your taste. And then I'm just going to leave that now while I make some dumplings to go with it. So to make the fake dumplings, I've weighed 75 grams of the fake low protein all purpose mix into a bowl, and then you need to add some block margarine, and you only need 25 grams. Put your scales on 0, tiny touch more, do 25, and then that just gets rubbed in together, just like you do when you make a pastry. Just use your thumb and the tips of your fingers just to rub it in. Now you do it until it makes breadcrumbs really, until it looks like fine breadcrumbs. It doesn't take long at all. You can just shake the bowl and see any larger lumps that you haven't mixed in, so just grab those. And then when it's nice and even, I think that's more or less it. It's nice and even. Margarine's kind of disappeared. That's ready, that'll do. So I'm just going to wash my hands and then add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. I've got black pepper here. Give it a nice flavour. You can add herbs, dried or fresh. The parsley would be nice, bit of oregano. And then you want to measure 35 ml of cold water and use a baby's bottle because you need to be accurate. Just give that a stir. And then add your liquid, your water. And then just mix it until it gets blended all together. It'll be quite a soft mixture. Don't worry, that's exactly how it should be. And try and get it to come together a bit like that. Get rid of the spoon. And then you need a little plate and a teaspoon, and just grab a good teaspoonful of mixture in your hand. And if you feel it's going to be sticky, you can use a little bit of all-purpose mix. Maybe I will, just a little touch. That's better, so they don't stick. And then put them on the plate. You can make them any size you like. You make them larger than these, but we quite like them almost bite size, so you just pop them into your mouth. They will rise in the stew. They're going to be cooked in the stew just for about 4 or 5 minutes at this size. So they will expand in the stew, so be careful. They're shaped now, so I'm going to cook what I want now, and any left over will be frozen. They freeze beautifully, and then in the future when I want any, just defrost them and cook them in the normal way. So these go on the top now. You don't need to stir them in, just drop them onto the top of the stew. Don't stir them in at all. Just going to place the lid on and leave them for about 5 minutes to cook. Right, the dumplings are cooked now. They've been on there 5 minutes. Don't forget, if you make larger dumplings, you'll have to leave them in there for a longer time. But you can always just take one out before serving and just have a look. Just have a test. I'm just going to serve it now. Really lovely. Now that's spicy vegetable stew with dumplings. All you need now is a knife and fork, Kate. Come on.